The police. Their mission is to protect and serve the community, right? Wrong. The police exist as an extension of class power, with the main goal of protecting private property. But before we go further, we should define a couple terms. Private property is the means of production. Things like factories, law firms, construction companies, and coffee shops. Things you can own that produce value. Personal property is your house, toothbrush, or your flag with a recreation of the Last Supper using the Big Les show characters. The things you own for individual use or enjoyment. Most of us never interact with private property in the legal sense. We sell our labor at a coffee shop or in a factory. We are the fuel. But the moment that relationship breaks down, the moment a picket line forms or a rent strike begins, the true function of the police becomes clear. They aren't there to serve the community in the sense of resolving the conflict. They're there to ensure the flow of capital remains uninterrupted. As Michael Perenni puts it, the state is not a natural arbiter. It is a tool, and a tool is only as good as the hand that holds it.
This morning, you've got time for a hot home-cooked breakfast.
Are you kidding?
Great Starts frozen breakfast sandwiches. Fresh home.
To understand why this is, we have to look at where the police actually came from. They didn't just emerge from a vacuum of public safety. In the North, they were created to manage the dangerous classes, the workers who were starting to riot against 14-hour days in the factories. In the South, they were slave patrols, designed to protect the property of the plantation class. The DNA hasn't changed. It was never about stopping crime in the abstract. It was about maintaining a specific social hierarchy. What do you usually think of when you think of a crime? If you go into a store and steal some produce or Pampers, the police will use every available resource to track you down. But if a corporation pays you sub-minimum wage plus tips, the police don't arrive and zip tie the CEO. They tell you it's a civil matter. Why? Because their job isn't to protect and serve us. It's to protect the private property of the people who own the store, the factory, and the paycheck. Think about the sheer scale of that disparity. Every year, wage theft, bosses stealing from their employees, accounts for roughly $15 billion in losses. That is more than all robberies, burglaries, and shoplifting cases combined. Yet, have you ever seen a SWAT team breach a corporate headquarters because the CEO withheld overtime pay? Have you ever seen a K-9 unit track down a developer who illegally evicted a family in the middle of winter? Of course not, because the law isn't a neutral set of rules. It's a set of instructions for the preservation of the status quo. When a crime threatens the bottom line of the owning class, it is a matter of public safety. When a crime is committed by the owning class against the workers, it is a contractual dispute. This is why, when the economy crashes, the police aren't sent to the banks to arrest the people who gambled away your pension. They're sent to the parks to clear the tents of the people who lost their homes in the collapse. They are the enforcers of owning class interests. American police kill over 1,000 people per year, disproportionately African Americans who are also disproportionately unarmed when killed. The American justice system has given them qualified immunity, which makes it extremely hard to prosecute an officer who has unlawfully killed someone. On top of that, lots of the officers who do commit killings have previous killings on record. In this year, so far, the police have killed 362 people. This effectively destroys any idea of the social contract we were taught in school, when the state, the police in this situation, can act as judge, jury, and executioner for whenever you've broken the social contract. Then it is no longer an agreement and turns into an effective police state. You are expected to follow their rules, but they are not required to protect you. In fact, the Supreme Court has ruled multiple times that the police have no constitutional duty to protect you from harm. Their only duty is to the system. One might say, well, this doesn't make all cops bad. What if someone joins the force because they truly want to serve their community? My answer is, intentions don't matter when the institution is systematically designed for harm. A good person tasked with an eviction still puts the family on the street. A nice guy on a picket line still swings the baton if the order comes down to clear the area. When you put the uniform on, your personal morality is secondary to your professional function. You are a gear in the machine, and that machine is built to protect the assets of the few from the needs of the many.
7:24, my feet are hitting the floor. 7:30, time to tie my shoe. At 7:34.
This is why I dislike talk about reforming the police. When we have that discussion, we need to think about abolition and replacement of policing with public safety. Policing is a reactive, armed response used to maintain order. Public safety is a proactive, social investment used to maintain well-being. True public safety doesn't come from a patrol car. It comes from stable housing. It comes from healthcare that doesn't bankrupt you. It comes from a community where your survival isn't tied to how much value you produce for a boss. The state spends billions on a blue wall because it is cheaper to police poverty than it is to end it. It is cheaper to hire an officer to clear a homeless encampment than it is to provide the housing that would make the encampment unnecessary. When you see the police, you aren't looking at public service. You're looking at the perimeter fence of the owning class. So, next time you see a picket line being broken up, or a student protest being crushed, or a neighbor being evicted, while an officer stands guard, don't ask why the system is failing. It isn't failing. It's working exactly as intended. And once you see the badge for what it really is, a shield for private property and a weapon against the working class, you realize what we don't need is a better police. We need a world where we don't need them at all.